The best-selling PHEV SUV in the world has just gotten better, and I mean a lot better. I know a lot of you have been patiently waiting for the launch of the new Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. Well, here she is, the second generation Outlander PHEV, and this thing is all new. When I say all new, we're talking new platform, new exterior, new styling, a new interior. Spoiler alert, this has massaging seats, and for the first time in the PHEV, it also has a third row. We have a new PHEV Powerplant, more power, more range, more everything, and even more cats if you see that. So anyways, all that coming up right after this. As mentioned in our preview video of this new PHEV, the new Outlander is built off a brand new platform. It's bigger pretty well in all ways, and style-wise, it shares most of the same features as the new gas Outlander, like the dynamic shield grille, standard LED lights with projector-style LEDs on the top trim. The PHEV gets a few extra badges and a charge port on the passenger side. Here's something to note. The new Outlander was designed as a PHEV, so it was not an afterthought. This is a purposely built plug-in hybrid platform. There are 5 trims available here in Canada, which we'll get into in a little bit, but the base ES trim gets standard 18-inch wheels, while the higher trims come with 20-inch. On the top GT and GT Premium, the PHEV is available for the first time in this two-tone white diamond and black roof combination. I have to admit, it looks really sharp, especially with these Outlander letters on the hood, which is an added accessory. I'd highly recommend it. It just makes it have an even more premium look. Open up the power liftgate and you'll be greeted with 872 liters behind the second row, which is large enough to fit 4 golf bags. The new PHEV now has the bonus of being a 7-passenger vehicle with a very slick folding third row. Unlike the gas Outlander, where you have to remove the headrest, the PHEV gets an entirely different stowing system. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and 4. Folding the second row is a cinch with 1 pull on each side, and you get a generous 1,875 liters of cargo space. Just like the previous generation, this one also has a 1500-watt inverter built in the back, which makes it handy for everything from making smoothies or even blow drying your hair on the road. By the way, this Dyson blow dryer is 1600 watts, so I wouldn't recommend using this one. Well, family vehicle, families in the car, we're very, very accustomed to the Outlander as we have driven the gas version for almost a year. But there are big changes what's powering this new PHEV, and that's what everybody wants to hear, right? So under the hood, you have a 2.4 liter gasoline engine, and that gives you 131 horsepower and 144 pound-feet of torque. But then you get to some major changes. First of all, the electric motors have been upgraded dramatically. So the front electric motor gets a bump of 34 horsepower, giving you 114 horsepower now. And the rear gets a 44 horsepower increase. So now you get 134 horsepower up from only 90. So a big difference. But wait, there is more. When you get more giddy up and go, you need a little bit more battery power to power these. So you do have a 45% larger battery now. So we go from 13.8 kilowatt hours up to a 20 kilowatt hour battery. That's a big jump. Another big change is this is equipped now with a heat pump. What does that mean for you? Well, that means that this vehicle will operate more in EV mode and not have to rely on the gasoline engine as much for the climate control, and that's a big deal. Now, just like a heat pump in your house, there are limitations. If it gets really cold, then heat pumps aren't as efficient, and it's going to use that gasoline engine, and it's going to make that decision. We have been driving this vehicle mainly in colder weather, and a lot of times when you start the vehicle up, it will start up that gasoline engine even if we are in EV mode. We'll get to the modes in a second. And that is mainly not just for heating the vehicle, but it's also for heating the gasoline engine for efficiency and better emissions, because a cold engine does not operate very clean at all. Our testing is a really good example of the real world testing. If you live in a warmer climate, or if this was summertime, I guarantee you that your fuel economy numbers are definitely going to be better than what we got, but it's still quite impressive. We are huge fans of plug-in hybrids. Even though we own a full battery electric vehicle, having both would be the best thing. Having this in the driveway along with our Ioniq is be like, that's the dream team right there. First of all, very little compromise. You can drive it like an electric vehicle. We're driving on the freeway right now. We're doing 100 kilometers an hour, and we are not using any gas at all. It's at zero. We are getting close to depleting our battery, which is fine, because I want to talk to you about how it operates after the battery is depleted. But we can go in the HOV lane with a single occupant here. There are so many benefits, and if we forget to charge, no big deal. If we want to drive 400 or 500 kilometers, no problem at all. Guess what? We get low on range, just fill it up with gas and plug it in when we can. Speaking of range, the official number is 61 kilometers. And let me tell you, when you look at the display of what the range is, that is an average, by the way. So it's going to average your driving habits and how you're driving. For instance, if you were to be in bumper to bumper traffic for, a long time, that range is going to go up, because that's going to be very efficient. When you're on the freeway at speed, this is where it uses the most electricity. The faster you go, the more power it needs, and more wind resistance as well. So that's going to go down. But, at times I've seen it as high as 85 kilometers. So it's all going to depend. But once again, if it's in the colder weather, like right now, it's like 2 degrees out. It was 0 earlier on, and that gas engine did kick on in the morning, first thing. But I have had instances when we've been testing this where I started it up, that gas engine kicked on for about 3 to 4 minutes or so. And then after that, though, I literally drained the entire battery doing a highway trip. So it never ever came on until it was depleted. So you can expect EV only driving. Just be aware that that gasoline engine will kick on once in a while. And what it does is very, very seamless. So a lot of you want to know, what is the fuel economy when you don't have any battery charge? And hey, we did a lot of testing on here. On average, we were doing about 6.2 liters per 100 kilometers in combined driving with 0 charge. So that's a pretty good average. There was one leg that we did about 60, 70 kilometers with a flat battery, and we got it down to just 3.5 liters per 100K. And the reason for that is that we are coming down a large mountain pass. And we've been driving this also even in the snow, but a large mountain pass where we were able to regenerate a lot of electricity. I think we got almost 20 kilometers of range back in to that battery. You have 2 paddles, one on the left, one on the right. Pull the left paddle, you're going to increase your regen up to 5 different steps. Pull the right, it's going to go the opposite way. And what's really neat is when you're going down a hill, what you want to do is you just want to maintain your speed. So if you are going a little too fast, you put more regen. If you're starting to slow down because it's flattening out or too much regen, then you pull the right paddle, and you don't have to use your brakes at all. And you can see that green gauge just pouring more power into that battery. While we're on the regen topic, there is something else that's new. Beside the EV mode button, there is a little button with a symbol, with a pedal, and that is the innovative pedal. So if you are familiar and you're a fan of one pedal driving, I just pressed it. We are on one pedal driving right now. Hey, there's another Outlander. Anyways, we're gonna come up to a turn here. I just gently lift off the throttle. It'll slow me down very smoothly, I must say. And we don't even ever have to touch that brake pedal at all. And where this is handy, you know, some city driving, or I found if you're on a route that has some nice twisty, curvy roads, it's really nice to have that. You can really maintain a nice flow to your drive. The one thing though, it does not come to a complete stop like some one-pedal drives do. Let's take that off right now. We're just on a straight road. I like to coast. So Brian, how does it drive? Everybody wants to know. Well, if you've watched our previous videos, you'll know that, hey, we love the Outlander, the new one and the old ones, but the new one is it's such a great product, such a premium product. However, that gas version, I really do find it's a little bit, you know, lacking on the get up and go from a stop. So I predicted that, hey, this PHEV is going to take care of that and pick up that slack, and boy, does it ever. You know, so right now we have depleted our battery right now, just to let you know. You can hear that gasoline engine kick on here once in a while, and even with the depleted battery, there is still way more torque off the line. It is way more responsive. Plus, in your drive selector, there are now 7 drive modes. So we have everything from eco, normal, tarmac. We have sand, we have snow, but we also have something called power mode. All right, so for the power mode, hey, it's exactly what it sounds like. We're on a road right now. Let's say I just want a little bit more oomph for passing power. And it really, really makes a big difference. This new Outlander PHEV can make a run to 100 kilometers an hour 2 full seconds quicker than the outgoing model. That's a big, big difference. Of course, with power mode, you're going to use more fuel and use a little bit more of your battery, but it's nice that it's there. It really is nice that it's there. Ride-wise, I like how this PHEV handles. I think the suspension works a little bit better than the gas version, and that may be due to, you know, you have heavier batteries and they're slung nice and low. It lets the suspension work a little bit better. So I do prefer this ride over the gas version. Okay, here's a question I'm throwing out to you viewers out there. If you're watching this and you either own an Outlander PHEV, whether it's this version or the previous generation, or if you own any plug-in hybrid or even hybrid vehicle, like we owned a Highlander hybrid before, are you hooked on playing the game and always wanting to get better fuel economy? Because we're hooked, like always trying to get a better number. And what's different about this PHEV over the gas one is your trip computer has so much more information. It gives you different averages, how much time you've stayed in just EV mode. And I love always, you know, watching the trip computer and then flipping it back and forth into your energy flow. So here you can actually see what's happening if that gasoline engine's on, if it's powering the wheels, if it's powering the batteries, if it's, you know, it's like, there's a lot going on. And what's so cool, it's like an orchestra of inputs and outputs and regen. It's all happening and it's all seamless. And the computer is just determining what the best efficiency and the best use of what mode that it uses. So sometimes the gasoline engine works just as like a generator. So if you look at your display, it's not even powering the wheels at all, but you can see it's actually just powering the battery, which in turn is powering the electric motors. And then at times it will run as a parallel hybrid, which the gasoline engine will supply power direct to the front wheels, yet it uses the electric motors as an assist. And there are times where, you know, when you're in full EV mode, and of course, it's just the battery powering those electric motors. You know, what's very, very cool is that a lot of times, like right now, we have 0, you know, kilometers for our range. So our battery is pretty well depleted. However, there must be a reserve because often, even on the highway, when you're not under a lot of load, it'll just run electric, even though you don't have any range. Right now, we just accelerated from a stop sign. We had 0 on the RPM, and now it's kicked back on, but it just comes on and off, and you really don't notice it. There's no shudder or anything. You do hear a slight whine from this engine, though, and I think it's almost like the generator that's generating the power has a little bit of a whine to it. Under startup, the PHEV will default to either EV mode if you have a full battery or some battery power in there, or normal mode, which operates just as a hybrid, and it just determines what it's going to do by itself, as we explained there. But there are a couple of other modes. You press it, you can actually save your charge, and then there's a charge mode. So for saving, if you know you're going to be in traffic or in the city, you want your electric power there, you can save it for that. Or the charge mode, same thing. You may be on the freeway and you're heading into the city and you have zero power. You want to put a little bit of juice back into that battery to save some fuel once you're in the city. You can do that. Now, we've done some testing on that, and when you're on the highway using that, there is a mileage penalty. It's going to run you about anywhere from 2 to 2.5 liters per 100 kilometers of, for running that charge setting. So it's basically a generator, so it's also driving the vehicle as well. However, you are gaining enough range though that it kind of evens out. So it's almost the same. There is a little bit of a benefit that we found. However, it all depends on what the price of fuel is where you live, right? So if the fuel is really expensive, you're probably better off just to leave it as it is and just charge it from your plug. The full range of this PHEV has now been increased to 687 kilometers, and that's with that 61 kilometer EV range. Plus, you have a larger composite gas tank, and the advantage of this composite gas tank that they're using, it's kind of like plastic essentially, is they can shape it in different shapes. They can mold it to the underside, better aerodynamics, and like cater to the battery system, and so because of that, you get more range. Now, that's based on if you have a full charge, you just drive and you drive it until it's empty. Not many people are going to do that because you're probably going to charge it in between. If you charge it every day, for instance, and you only drive under 60 kilometers, a day, you're mainly going to use electricity, and that one tank of fuel is probably going to last you like thousands of kilometers opposed to just 687. So how long is it going to take to charge the Outlander PHEV? Well, plug it into a regular household outlet, your 110 plug, and it's going to take you 16 hours. Yeah, it's not that quick. Level 2, if you have one of those at home, which we do, but that's going to bring that down to 6.5 hours. I really do wish it was a little bit quicker than that. It's a little bit on the long side for level 2 compared to some other competitors that can charge a little bit faster. But one thing that the Outlander does have on the competition, you do get level 3 DC fast charging with this vehicle, and pretty well no other competitors in this class have that option. So to get to 80% from zero, it's only going to take you 38 minutes on the DC fast charger. Remember, after 80%, it takes a lot longer, like any EV battery. So if you're in a hurry, just put it to 80%. Now, all Outlander PHEVs come standard with their all-wheel drive and super all-wheel control. This, it's been evolved, and with the instant torque, it's not specific to the engine speed, which is really nice for an all-wheel drive system. You don't have to have the RPMs up to get the power and the torque to those wheels. The super all-wheel control now applies its active yaw control, not only to the front, which in the previous, well, that's all it was, just the front wheels, but now for the front and the back, meaning it can actually go and control how much torque goes front and back and left and right. So you don't just get the optimum traction for inclement weather, but it really enhances the handling for this vehicle for more dynamic drive. All right, we are at our destination to drop off the family. All right, while the girls are out having fun with their own horsepower, let's talk about trims of this new PHEV. Now, these are all Canadian trims, so make sure if you're not in Canada to check with your local Mitsubishi dealer or your site to see what trim that they offer. So we start off at the base ES. The ES is running at $46,538, and it's pretty well equipped. First of all, they're all standard all-wheel drive with a super all-wheel control. They all have 7 passenger seating. You get an 8-inch screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You get blind spot warning. You get adaptive cruise control. The next trim is the one I think is going to be the one to get if you don't need the top of the line and you want a little bit more content than that base one. It's the LE, and that is $4,700 more But for that $4,700, boy, you get a lot. You know, first of all, you get this big, huge panoramic roof here, and it opens up as well. You also get a 9-inch display instead of an 8-inch on the base model, and it has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It also has built-in navigation. You get a 360 camera. I love this camera, especially with the dedicated camera button and the side view. You should never ever get any curved rims with that camera for sure. And you also get the hands-free power liftgate as well. So you get all of that for $4,700. Next trim up is the SEL, and that goes for $54,048, and that gives you 20-inch wheels, you get power leather seats, and you get heated rear seats and a bunch of other goodies. And the next one is kind of the top of the line. There's one above that, but it is the GT trim. And so the GT goes for $56,348, and it adds on top of everything else that you also get a 10.8-inch head-up display. You get the quilted leather seats, the Bose premium audio system. You get the My Pilot Assist, which we didn't even talk about. It's a semi-autonomous system. Works really well, especially for stop and go traffic, and it is predictive. I was on the freeway and I had it set, and there was no cars in front of me, but we were coming down a hill and there was a corner, and it proactively went and nicely applied the brakes. It was not abrupt. Very, very nice. And that's the first time I actually even really experienced how proactive it was. And for the GT, you also get the option for the two-tone paint that we have here. Lastly, we have the GT Premium that gives you everything that all the trims have, just the same as the GT as well, but it's going to add two kind of important things to some people. Is you're going to get two-tone semi-aniline leather seats, and not only do you get that, but you get massaging seats for both driver and passenger. That's the first for any Outlander or Outlander PHEV. And I gotta say, you know, there's different settings. It's not bad, you know, but that being said, I don't think any automotive massaging seat can replace, you know, something that you'd have in your, like your massage chair at home. But it's definitely, it's decent. It's nice for longer drives. So those are prices, but remember, you may be able to get this even for less money. How so? Well, because this does have a range, an EV range of over 50 kilometers, which means that in Canada here, this qualifies for the full EV rebate. So that's $5,000 that comes off this price. And depending on what province you live in, so in British Columbia, this can get up to a $2,000 rebate. So if you have the full rebate, you're $7,000 off this vehicle, off those prices that I just told you about, which is nothing to sneeze at. If you live in different provinces, some of them are even more. And if you live in the US, it all depends on what state you're in. Check with your dealer, see if it qualifies for any of these type of EV incentives or rebates. Overall, as a family, we really enjoyed the usability of this Outlander, and I like the new third row seats. The fact of how you don't have to actually go and you know, take out those headrests and find a place for them on the side. It saves some room there. Yeah, and they just flip down. So for your viewing pleasure and the sacrifices that I made, I even went and crawled in the back just to show you how much room there is back there. It is not huge, and that should be no surprise. In some instances, it could be very, very handy. For instance, maybe you're going out for dinner and you need a couple extra seats instead of taking two cars, and it's, you know, it's not too far of a drive. No problem. Guess what? With the price of gas right now, why take two cars? Take the one, save some money, have an extra entree or appetizer for your dinner instead. So that brings us to our conclusion. This new second generation Outlander PHEV really is in a class of its own. You really think about it. What other competitor offers a third row of seats? Premium features like quilted leather seats with massage, wireless charging, head-up display, Bose audio system, standard all-wheel drive as well. It's a PHEV, a plug-in hybrid that you can actually drive in just EV and use that HOV lane. Nothing else can really touch this. And as good and as popular as the current generation PHEV is, this new one is just so much better on all levels for sure. We have just scratched the surface on this new PHEV. There is so much going on with this new vehicle. Hopefully we will get this back in the near future and create more videos, some real life scenarios and stories to share with you. And remember, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We really value every single one of your views and your comments below. If you have any questions, leave them down there. That's it for today's Everyday Review. Hope you enjoyed it. Safe driving.